What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show. And I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Marilyn Harper, who has been called the Midwestern spiritual sparkplug and the Bette Midler of the New Age movement. Marilyn is a renowned public speaker, facilitator, spiritual teacher, and channel of Adironnda Company. Now, Marilyn is an internationally recognized expert on the walking phenomena. She humorously points out that it took 3 car accidents before she awakened to her true calling as a channel and began developing her spiritual gifts. In her work as a speaker, facilitator, and healer, Marilyn's goal is to provide experiences and practical methods to help people laugh, love, and live the life they're here to live in joy, peace, love, and laughter. Now, as a trained master in several healing modalities, her mission is to create bliss on the planet because life is simply spiritual. Now, through her popular Adironnda Company outreach, Marilyn teaches certification courses in intuitive development, entering the Akashic Records, and Reiki. Marilyn Harper, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm so excited to be here. It's through the miracles of modern technology. Here we all are.
Right? And where are you for the audience, just so we can get a fix on you?
Today I am physically located in Springfield, Missouri, in the United States.
Missouri. I was thinking of somewhere. I was thinking of Kansas for some reason.
Well, I grew up in Kansas. So my roots are Kansas. I've been in Missouri for longer than I lived in Kansas, but you can't ever take Kansas out of the girl.
That is probably true, yes. Absolutely. Now, before this all okay, well, look, I never knew this was going to be an interview with in regards to channeling. I don't even remember booking you in. I'm so glad you're on, right? This was booked in last year. And I do not remember this, well, yeah, I don't remember anything about it, but it's about channeling. How right that this subject is coming in right now, trust me. This is. It seems to be my show's been hijacked by channelers, but it's.
We have that opportunity, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. I know it's great because it's just where I think the show is right now in some respects, and where I am as well. So this is going to be fascinating. I'm so glad that you're on. Before we get into who you're channeling and everything else. Who were you prior to your spiritual awakening?
Well, I was just about as regular a person as you would ever want to meet. I lived in Missouri. I was deacon in the Christian church. I was working at a country western radio station selling advertising, and I had surgery. And came out of the surgery 5 days later, went back into the hospital with complications. And that was when I experienced a walk-in, a soul exchange, actually. There's quite a wide variety of walk-ins. I don't know if your audience is aware of walk-ins much, but I experienced a complete soul exchange. I went into the hospital as one person and came out very confused, very shook up as someone else because I had no idea what had happened. I was not metaphysical. I was not into anything unusual. And in fact, I remember in the 80s, I started to read Shirley MacLaine's book, Out on a Limb. I threw it away because they talked about channeling, and it was so sacrilegious to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from the spiritual, coming from a Christian background as well, where, there are rules in a sense that you have, and if you go against them, how Christian is that in a sense? So now I can understand that. Now, was this major life transformation, this walk-in, was that 1993?
It was. 1993 was when I walked in. However, I woke up to that fact in 96, the first of 96. And that was when I really began my spiritual path. I mean, the way I found out I was a walk-in was pretty unusual, but it was time. And when I woke up, I realized that I had new talents, new skills, new energies, and I set about really letting go of the walkout and completing all of her contracts and embracing the walk-in with new spiritual work. I actually had an energy session every week for a year that cleared old patterns out, cleared old energies out.
So now, some of this audience knew Dolores Cannon, and obviously she talked about walk-ins, but just for those who may not know exactly what this is, just very briefly, just explain it for us.
I know Dolores. Don't you love her? I loved her. But a walk-in is a person that, due to a prior agreement before they arrived on Earth, their soul agreed to leave at a specific point in time, and instead of the body dying, a new soul came in to take their place. Now, many times that's due to a near-death experience, a emotional traumatic event, suicide attempt, or something like that. For me, it was none of the above. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't suicidal. I didn't want to end my life. I wasn't going to die, although I did state at one point in the hospital, if I'm going to be in this much pain, then please take me out now. And they did.
Right. Yeah. So what's walked in? Where from? What reality?
It's my understanding I am actually from the Q system, which doesn't translate into English. It's a part of the Blue Planet series. Arcturus is probably the most famous a part of the Blue Planet series, and the Q system is, I always jokingly say you go to the second galaxy on the left and you turn right and go to the third one, and that's us. It doesn't, the name and the language doesn't even translate into English. So it's interesting. Although when I first woke up, as a person would do, I had a reading from somebody, and they wrote a language out on a pad of paper that didn't mean anything to me, but they told me to put it by my bed and allow that language to provide me the information that I needed to. So I did, and I think it must have brought me something because I figured it out. I did automatic or inspired writing every day for a year, and that was kind of a how-to manual in what had happened to me. Again, I wasn't metaphysical. I didn't come in with this language. I didn't. I've been on Earth before, but it's interesting because I think I have had a lot of the same issues that my walkout had, and I actually connected with my walkout several times during her life to make sure she got the cellular training that I would need to accomplish what I'm here to accomplish.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Every walk-in comes in with a very specific mission or purpose. That's why usually somebody that has just a burning desire to make a difference in the world, a burning desire to shift the consciousness of the planet or something. My first question is, are you a walk-in? Because many times that's the case. It's like they have to do it. My walkout was a Pisces with a Virgo moon and Cancer ascending. And so that's kind of an interesting, to try to make a decision. I was very organized about my indecision. However, my walk-in was a double Taurus with a Leo rising. So, that was a big energy coming in, and I noticed a lot of differences. But, the fascinating thing, Kevin, is in 2008, something shifted within me. And I really started asking, what's my purpose? What am I doing here? What am I in the way of? What am I supposed to do? And I actually believe that my walkout, who was went off to retraining where walkouts go, actually came back and merged with my walk-in, because my walkout was a stage performer. My walk-in was not. And she was pretty uncomfortable when you put me on stage. So my walkout, this get very confusing. The cellular memory of being on stage in front of 1,000 people or more was natural to her. So I needed that cellular memory to accomplish what I'm doing now. And so something shifted in 2008. I mean, I bought clothes that I hadn't bought in 16 years, 15 years, or however many years it was. It was pretty wild. So I've never actually heard of that happening before.
So fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. And at that time as well, 2008, I believe you even, at one point left your husband, sold the house and all your belongings, and did you leave your job as well at the same time?
Well, that was actually my business partner, Joy. We're going to have to make those intros a little clearer. My business partner, Joy, she walked in 2009, and she woke up one day and said, I can't live in Los Angeles. I mean, she was a Southern California kid. She said, I can't live with all this noise. She left her husband, left her job, started her own marketing firm in Arizona. And due to a series of synchronistic events in 2010, as I was standing in my living room in Missouri, I was actually living in Branson, Missouri at the time, which is even smaller than Springfield. And I was shaking my fist at God or at Source saying, you've got to bring me some help here. I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm working a full-time job. I'm doing sessions at night, doing retreats on weekends. It's like, I'm not doing this. And probably at that moment, my business partner, who I'd never met before, and her then husband, drove into an RV lot in Los Angeles for a 10-day RV show, and their salesperson was actually the same person that opened up the channel within me in 1999. So, I mean, talk about a series of synchronistic events that the universe had to line up to get us to meet. And they didn't ever buy an RV. They didn't even talk about RVs. Instead, this person, Alexis, she told my business partner, Joy, that she was not a marketer, she was a promoter, and that she needed to give me a call. So she called me, and we had a session, and that's when she found out that she was a walk-in.
Wow. Okay, like you do. And now you guys have been working together ever since.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Incredible. So sorry about that confusion for the audience at the beginning about you walking away from your husband. No, it was your business partner and how you met. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was wow. That's incredible. And as you say, just when you needed it as well at that time, because it was becoming a bit too much. The workload was.
Yeah.
And they helped you, because this message wants to get out. Wow. Okay. But going to your husband as well, when you had this walk-in come in, the new you in a sense, who was your husband left with? Was it?
At that moment, I didn't have a husband, but what happens is it is really difficult, and many couples do separate based upon that because they married one person and all of a sudden they're married to someone else. I mean, their talents, their skills, their emotions, the way they make love is all completely different. It's very alarming, and it's unusual for couples to stay together. They have to be very determined, and the husband or the wife actually gets the opportunity to fall in love with the walk-in. And that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Usually they have some kind of a contractual um, agreement because it's all set up. It's not a random thing.
No, absolutely. It's absolutely incredible to be speaking to someone that's had this experience and that can share it with other people. Is it almost like, the life prior to the walk-in just seems a bit like a blur, a bit like a dream?
That's interesting. Um, Before I walked in, I had a powerful memory. I could tell you things that I wore and did when I was as young as 2 years old. After I walked in, that was one of the first indicators that something drastic had happened. I couldn't remember a lot of my childhood unless I worked at it. It's like it couples to kind of going through a Rolodex in your head. It's like I know that memory is there somewhere, but I have to work to get to it. And it was a bit foggy. I think the more there's a period of time for a walk-in that they integrate. And it used to take about 8 years for a walk-in to integrate completely. Now it doesn't take that long. More walk-ins are actually what we call composites, where their higher self comes in to join their lower self, and they actually merge together right then. But it is unusual to think that your childhood memories are gone. Used to my walkout, she could see somebody from her grade school or her junior high or her high school, recognize them immediately. Me? Ha! I may have been really good friends with you, but I don't remember you.
That's incredible. Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, but that's just the side effect of obviously, you coming in at this soul coming in at this late stage, but obviously needed to come in to allow for the path that you're now on, and one of those paths that opened up in 1999 was Adoronda, the channelings with Adoronda. Now, just tell us about Adoronda and how that channeling came about.
Well, it was pretty unusual. Again, I didn't really believe in channeling, and I had several psychic readings and tarot readings, and they all said, "Well, you're a channel. You're supposed to be on this side of the table instead of that side of the table." And I was like, no, I don't really buy into that. And when I became attuned to Reiki level 2, I realized that I had the ability to sort of see into bodies, see into people, and see where their blockages are and remove them. And then I um, was working on someone in 98, the end of 98, and I I had another energy that was not a part of my guidance system come in and speak to me telepathically, and they said that our name is Serapis Bay, and we would like to speak directly to the person on the table and use you as a channel. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I've seen The Exorcist. Get on out of here. I had no idea who Serapis Bay was at the time, and anyway, we had this interactive communication going on telepathically while I was working on the person on the table, right? And so finally I surrendered, and because he promised he was from God or from source energy, and he wouldn't do any harm, and he would get out when I was done. and and I got to information. He brought in information that I could never have gotten to without that connection. And so after that, I don't think I ever fully came back present. I had 3 car accidents, and I wasn't hurt in any of them. But the last one, someone came to stay with me, Alexis. The universe sort of arranged for me to meet her. She was in town for just a few days, and she recognized the fact that I was not present in my body. And I didn't even know that was possible at the time, that you could be walking around and selling advertising and doing your job and not really be present. But she knew what to do, and she knew how to step my conscious self aside and ask to speak to my higher self or whoever was present. And that was the first time Adironnda spoke. And Adironnda came in immediately and said that we are from the 17th dimension, and that's where they encountered me, in the 17th dimension, and that I was a healing practitioner in that dimension, and they recognized that our energy was a match, and they were sent by source energy, and they said this in the very first transmission, that they said that they were sent from source energy, and they brought with them a council of earth beings and archangels, because the people on this planet are simply not getting it quickly enough for the shifting planet, and that they are here to help. And their intention was to help people feel what it feels like to be held in unconditional love. So it's pretty powerful when Adoronda connects in, and I do private sessions and speak in public and channel in public, and I'm a part of the Lee Carroll Cryon team. And
yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because I saw you at the Sedona Master Channeling Summit. Well, I saw the video. Wow, that's all I'll say. I'll link the video underneath this video. That's a great video, that is. You got to experience some amazing energy by being on that stage. How amazing is that?
Yes, it was very amazing. It was very powerful, and to be there with 12 other channels and to be a part of such good company. I mean, some of the best channels on the planet right now. And according to Adironnda, there are more channels now on the planet than there ever have been. It was great to be a part of that experience.
Yes, there is. Now, you mentioned the word higher self there. Obviously, I'm quite into pushing the higher self right now, and just how amazing this oversoul is, and how powerful it is, and how tapped in it is to knowledge, and that we all have this ability to go into this higher self. Would you say is Adironnda separate part of your higher self, or both?
Great question, Kevin. In the beginning, Adoronda was separate. Adoronda came in from the outside and was a very foreign energy. They had a very thick accent. They'd never communicated through a human form before. And so they had no concept of the human body. They did not have a physical form in the 17th dimension where they're from. They were mist, an intelligence of light and mist and
Energy, yeah.
And then when they got into this planet, they thought that everybody sounded like they were Russian or Czechoslovakian or something, because that's what they sounded like when we first began. Very thick accent. They had no idea that my eyelids would move, my hands were a part of the body, and it was quite fascinating in the beginning when, I mean, I channeled with my eyes closed, and yet when we did a group channeling, and they came in and they said that I'm an activator and that they're going to magnify that activated energy. And so I'm to gather groups together and activate people in mass. And we had our first group like 4 days later. I mean, it was like,
wow.
Boom. And then we channeled with our eyes closed, and we would look at the person that we were talking to as though we had our eyes open and were seeing them. We didn't move the hands, although it got a little messy in the beginning, because Adoronda, when you come directly before Adoronda, your heart chakra automatically pops open. Well, I'm a bit empathic, so people's heart chakra would pop open. We'd sit knee to knee, so they'd start to weep, and then I'd start to weep, and then my nose would run, and Adoronda would just keep on talking. Finally, one day, somebody, stuck a tissue in my hand, and Adoronda was like, "What is that? What are you doing? What is that? What's happening there?" And they said, "Well, this is for your vessel." And they actually lifted my hand up to my nose, and Adoronda was like, "What is this goo coming from my vessel's face hole?" It was quite an education. Then, because many channels experience physical problems, because the body's not used to running so much energy through it. Many channels have physical problems. Another channel said you need to merge. You need to merge the two energies together, because you don't want to have kidney problems or physical ailments. And so in the early 2000s, probably 2002, 2005, right around in there, we actually merged together. And Adironnda is more like my higher self, or part of my oversoul. I can still feel the separation, and yet Adironnda is always with me. And sometimes they come to the forefront of the energy, and anyone who's ever met Adironnda can tell when they're present. But other people that have never met Adironnda they would never know that they were present.
No. And so now you're doing it with your eyes open, you're fully present.
Yes.
You're part of the teaching. You're not going to a trance level state. You're keeping this is conscious channeling, which I think is the new way of doing it, and it's part of, or coming through, your higher self. But it's separate. But it's part of. But it's the same. It just goes to show how powerful and how amazing and just incredible this is, and you're able to bring in this information. Now, you talked about, I think you mentioned the 17th dimension there. Would you be surprised to think that actually there maybe is unlimited dimensions to go to? There's no limit. It's infinite.
Well, I don't think that there is a limit. I know Adoronda has always talked about there being 144 dimensions. Recently, they've talked about 152 dimensions. So it is possible that it is very unlimited.
And do you think that Adironnda is only saying that because, from her perspective, yes, she's in a she's at a higher level than us, but even she's not aware of the infinity that's above her. Even she is trying to work this out. They are trying to work this out at higher levels. It's like as though the higher levels channel to higher levels to bring in teaching information to them, which maybe they translate to us.
Yes, actually, I think that is correct. Adoronda never professes to know everything, and they're he, she, they're neither, and they're both. That's why I just call them a they. Sometimes a he, sometimes a she. But there are men and women on the council that they channel, and sometimes they come directly forward, and you can sense a shift in the energy. They don't identify who they are normally, but it's they are limitless, and they know that they don't know. No one knows everything. They say that there's no such thing as a true psychic. You know, they say that everyone on the planet has the same capability.
Yes, well, we can all listen to and go into meditation, or go in a quiet space and daydream, or at least try to get in contact with that inner knowing, that intuitive part, which maybe is our higher self.
Yes, exactly. And they're a part of my higher self, yet separate. They say that they're always with me, but I'm not always with them. And so it's
Yeah.
an interesting. I mean, when they come in directly at first, it's a big shift in the energy, a strong accent. I've been told that my physical face changes, and then as people settle into the energy, um, it it is it's easier and
Yeah.
more mellow. And then when a
Yeah.
different member of the council comes forward to speak directly, it shifts in that capacity.
That's how it was happening for me when I've been channeling. I've been channeling this group called The One, and that's just what it's like. But it shifted for me so much just recently, where it's more comfortable for me to say it's my higher self, because I think it's more empowering for me, and to be able to give that power back to other people. But it shifted in conscious in the way it's coming to me as well. I'll be at the gym, lifting weights, and then I'm getting a download, and it's never happened before.
Yeah.
I'll be and recognizing when that does happen, that it's a separateness from you, because you're thinking it's your daydream, you're daydreaming, or you're just wanting to think that way. But actually, when you come to realize it's separate. And what's been going on for myself as well is now, I can now hear them in my right side, and then I'll repeat it, which was very different before, because I was going with our eyes closed and then just going into this trance-like state consciously, and just and just blabbering on whatever I thought was coming through from them. How much trust is it for you when you're just in that zone of when they're talking and you're translating it as a translator, for example? How much trust is that it's just coming through and you're trying to keep it unfiltered?
I always set the intention when I get out of the way, that everything that comes in is for the highest good of whoever is listening, and that I step my conscious self aside and asked to have my belief systems, my paradigms completely stepped aside. So I really try to keep it filter free. I know sometimes I'm sitting back in the background, and Adironda's communicating, and the council is communicating, and they're saying things that it's like, you don't understand. People are not going to like this part. When Master Yeshua came through after I came back from Israel, and uh, Jesus is on the council and had only spoken one time. And then when I went to Israel in 2014, he came back and said, my name is not Jesus. My last name is not Christ. I am Yeshua ben Joseph of Nazareth. And And he came through and did a whole double-digit activation. We do a monthly double-digit on the double digit of the month, 334455, and he did the whole month, the whole monthly message, and we had question and answer. And somebody asked the question, "Are you the Savior? Are you here to save us from our sins?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "Oh," coming from my background.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so
Well,
it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't call yourself. You don't want to be. You're not going to want to be a guru. You're here to empower people.
Yes.
You're here to give people back their power. Yeah. Yeah. Having had David Icke just on as well, which was a fascinating interview. I was saying to Dave, I was watching the news the other day, just having something to eat at the same time, and the refugee crisis came on, and I just felt sick. I just felt so bad because there's so much suffering right now, and I was thinking, well, what the hell am I doing? What difference am I making? Then, as I said to David, the only difference I could come up with in that moment was the difference to, by just doing this show. That was my piece, basically, just right now. It seems to me this information is coming through at a time as well when there is great shift taking place. What does your channeling have to say with what's going on in the world right now, in the sense of the upheavals and the issues that we face?
Well, they've been saying for many years, and they remind people that they've been saying it, but anything that's not in integrity is going to start imploding upon itself. That means the financial industry, that means the government leaders, that means the Middle East, anything that is out of integrity, even if it is your own business or your family, if it's not in integrity, it's not going to be working. And they say that what really needs to happen is for the light workers, people like you, people like me, it's time for us to step up to the plate. It's time for us to see what the difference is that we can make, and then make it. I have a conference every year, the Visionaries in Light conference, Visionaries in Light Convergence, September 16th through the 18th, in Denver, in the United States, in Denver, Colorado. We're actually having a contest for people to send in a 5-minute video that is, what is your vision and how are you making a difference on this planet? And we're going to donate to them somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000
Wow.
to launch their vision. And so, we do have to make a difference. It is, one person can make that difference, and it is up to us. It's up to the light workers. It's up to the people on this planet that do get it. We're not all Mother Teresa. However, some of us do the same thing in a lot different way. And it's really important, just like you doing this show, it's so necessary and so needed for people, for the entire world to wake up, not just the people that are already awake. And that's what Adoronda is doing, is they're bringing us, I travel a lot, and they're bringing us to as many people as possible, because once that, I even speak in front of regular churches. And they really ask that people awaken to the rebalancing of the universe. They're awakening to that the answers are within them, to stop giving away their power, that they're all connected to every single other human being, or every single plant, every single animal, every single rock, tree, blade of grass. We're all connected here. So it is up to us, all of us, to be the difference that we wish to see in the world, to acknowledge that we're all just a work in progress. So stop judging and start igniting what your truth is, and realize that even though your truth may not agree with your neighbor's truth, you have every right to each be different. I mean, if everybody were the same, it would be pretty boring. That's why they make chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry.
That is true. That is true, and yeah. Um, Go out there and do something. David said on the interview, and it's true. It kind of like made me think actually. When we look at these bigger name people like Eckhart Tolle, Neil Donald Walsh, the Wayne Dyers of the world as well, they are helping majorly to wake people up in their own way.
Yes.
But maybe, what are they doing? Going out to, as in, what proactively are they doing to go out there and do something that is gonna build something, to change the system in a sense, not the system, but to help. I suppose I'm trying not to judge when I say this as well. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to know what in this arena is the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. Maybe there is no right and wrong. I don't know. Maybe we can only do and create our own truth. I remember Seth always said in his books as well that we create our reality. So it's for us to create the reality that we want to make a difference. Some of us aren't going to go out there and make a difference. Some of us are only going to create a reality that's for ourselves or for our family. But I suppose that's okay. But where's that really caring about the connection that we're all one?
Well, I think that many teachers that, and I want to be very careful. Many teachers that have been on this spiritual path for 20, 30, 40 years, right now, since 2012, they're finding things are not working the same. And if they're still trying to teach the way they taught 10 years ago, it's not going to be working. And so they're actually needing to find new methods and new techniques as well. And they still get the opportunity to make a difference. They still get the opportunity to say, okay, what is my task now? How can I help now? How can I be of service now? James Twyman is doing something. He's doing global meditations, global activations. If we could get everybody on the planet focusing at one particular time in one energy, that's a powerful force. That shifts the consciousness of the planet. And that's really where the answer is. I don't think you can say, I spent another 2 weeks in Israel this past October, and I'm taking my own group to Israel in 2017. And I'm realizing that that's kind of the heart of the dissonance on the planet, and Adironnda and Master Yeshua says that's where the heart of the planet is, and so all these people are fighting over that land. I understand it better now, but it still doesn't make it right. And so what everyone is doing is looking to see how we can shift. And if your business, if you're a spiritual teacher and your business is not working, then you get to ask yourself that hard question is, am I still doing it the same way I did in 2005? And if I am, I need to change that, because everything is different. Kevin, everything is different. In 2012, there was a major shift of the planet. The planet didn't stop. To many people, it looked like it was the same thing. But
sure,
the way we did things in 2011 don't work in 2013. And you have to we lost our paradigm. According to Adoronda, there is no paradigm from where we are right now. There is no, the human species has never been a part of a shifting planet where its dimensional reality is shifting. Dimensional consciousness is shifting while it's still inhabited. In the past, we had to have an ice age, or we had to, Lemuria had to collapse. Something had to happen for that shift to occur. Now we're inhabited, and we're still inhabited. And I hope that we continue to be inhabited.
Yes, of course we do. Of course we do. It's not a bad place to come, is it? In the end, yeah. The more I delve into these subjects, the more it just 10 times as many questions in some sense, and it can get clouded sometimes. It can do. I do think that we do create our own reality. It just seems to be the other people's reality bubbles seem to be coming into our space sometimes.
Well,
if that is the case.
That only makes sense, doesn't it, Kevin? Here you are, this bright light in the universe that people would naturally gravitate towards you, because it's like a moth to the light. People will always gravitate towards the nearest bright light. And so that's who you are. That's who I am. You're a bright light, and you're holding that vibrational frequency of presence. You're holding that vibrational frequency of bringing our higher selves into our regular selves so we can share the answers. And that it's it's magnificent. I mean, we have volunteered to come here to this planet at this time. and
God, get me out.
Sometimes it's a little challenging. Sometimes it's a little tough. Families, I mean, when I walked in, my family didn't really recognize me. And, they're still kind of scratching their heads now, 20 years later, to say, what changed about you? And when did you get this way?
Well, I think it's beautiful what the transformation that's happened with yourself. I can just feel that. It's a very, I wrote this on my sheet here, feeling alone and isolated. That's how I felt just recently. And it can be, when you're doing this by yourself and you don't have a partner, in a sense, not that you need anyone to these are all internal stuff that you need to deal with yourself. I do believe that. But, it is nice to be able to walk this path with someone else sometimes. And I think there's a few, probably other people out there as well who feel the same just right now, a bit isolated, a bit alone sometimes, when you go through shifts like this, and, your reality is not quite the same, is it?
No, it is not the same. And if I could mystically start matching people up energetically with their sweetheart, man, we would make a mint, wouldn't we? Because people are looking for their sweetheart. They're looking for that. And Adironnda always says that you have ones and you have twos. And each person is either a one or a two. And a two has to be with someone else. A one doesn't have to be with someone else. But when two ones get together, that makes the super one. And I know I'm a one, but yeah, it is necessary. It is nice to be able to turn to someone else and say, "Did you see that sunset?" And it is a little lonely at times. I traveled for a year with my business partner. Then I traveled for 3 years without my business partner. She's traveling with me once again, and it is much easier to travel with two people than it is with one person. And it's it somehow, Kevin, I think we need to see how all of these wonderful spiritual people that we all know can match up. I don't know if it's a dating site. I don't know what the answer is there, but I feel it on the horizon that people are connecting with others, because it is a little lonely. It is a little challenging. Sometimes it's nice to be alone, and sometimes it's nice not to be alone.
I think as well, the power of manifestation has to take a place here as well, where if you can just, before you go to bed, or before you go to bed, just put out there in your thought the future self, the future you, where you'd like to see yourself, and just keep homing in on that real happy person with whatever it is that you're looking for. And, the more you concentrate on that and do that every day, the more something's gonna happen.
Exactly. And I think that, Adironnda always says that, you can, in the olden days before 2012, you could write out your purchase order to Source and hand it in and know that it was, working on that. However, now it really is about becoming that person that you would like to be a part of, becoming that and allowing your vibrational energy to radiate out to such an extent that you magnetize that person to you. And then it's a matter of getting out of your comfort zone. Adironnda always says, divine order takes place when you get off of the sofa and open the front door. You have to get out. I actually, I'm embarrassed to say, I joined a dating site a couple of weeks ago because
Good on you.
I did. I don't meet anybody. I mean, the only way I meet people is when I'm channeling or when I'm speaking in front of a group, and people seem to be hesitant to
But you're doing something about it.
Excuse me?
You're doing something about it, though. That's you're yeah.
I'm opening the front door.
Yes, absolutely. So what as you were saying that, unless you take action, the same with manifestation. Yes, we know we can ask the universe. We can project ourselves in the future and say this is where we want to be, but you've still got to take the steps to get there.
You do. You can sit on your sofa all that you want and feel and breathe into your sweetheart and go to bed thinking about that sweetheart and really see how you can become that sweetheart and all of that. But chances are the cable guy is not going to come knocking on your door. You do have to get out of your comfort zone and move beyond where you have been in the past. And if you meet that perfect someone in the grocery store and you're drawn there, say something. I do private sessions, and the men that I have sessions with, they're looking for their sweetheart, right? And they say, well, I want them to approach me. And the women who are looking for their sweetheart, they say, well, I want the men to approach me. Well, that creates a standoff. They're both waiting for the other person to do something. So, I say take action into your own hands. I had to join a dating site because I don't meet a lot of people that are not connected with me in a spiritual way, and for some reason, men they haven't yet anyway come up to me and said, okay, so when you're not Adironnda, let's go out to dinner.
Yeah, but as you would look at it, that's because maybe you're at the stage now where you're ready for it, where you feel that you're lovable enough for it.
Well, I think I've always been lovable. However, I think I love myself more.
That's what I meant, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that, and I'm confident enough in myself to stay myself in a relationship. So many, we could do a whole show on relationships. So many times a person surrenders who they are to accommodate who they think the other person wants. But they can't do that always, I mean,
well, it doesn't last.
No, it doesn't work.
Sorry.
And then they go the opposite extreme. They set such strong boundaries. They have to do this and they have to be that and they have to do this and they've got to, which that doesn't work either.
No.
You just have to have fun.
Yes, absolutely. Fun. And that's even your job should be fun as well, I think. And when we were talking before about making a difference in the world, I think potentially what I might be looking at doing is setting up some sort of, this is long term, but setting up some sort of news network where it's looking at the news from a spiritual perspective. That'll be my difference in this world. Imagine looking at the refugee crisis from a spiritual perspective, looking at anything from a spiritual perspective, and getting bigger name people on through that means as well, to really put them on the spot on that spiritual perspective, and imagine people, spiritual people in the spiritual arena coming on and giving their input into the news. It would be so different. Or channeling taking place on the news. I mean, can you imagine it?
I'd love to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll just get you to sign this bit of paper. When can you start? Exactly. This is one. But that comes to finding your purpose, and that's something that you do as well. You do so many different types of stuff: healing, purpose, walking phenomena. Oh my gosh, you do loads of stuff. But we were going to talk about purpose, and I think we all have a purpose, and when we find our calling, it's really that part of us, isn't it? That's opening up. That's wanting to take us on this new journey, isn't it? In a sense,
it is. And and you're right. I do a lot of different kinds of things, and it would be much simpler for my business partner, who's the marketer, if I only did one thing. But I can't really do that. I believe that people, I can do anything if only I knew what it was. I believe that every single person has a divine essence, has a core that they are. And once they find that essence and realize that everything else revolves around that essence, then it makes life so much easier. And so I teach a workshop. I'm teaching a workshop in Portland, Maine in April, and another one in Vancouver, Canada also in April. On breaking through the myth that we don't know what we want to do, and we really do know. And our essence, once we acknowledge that, like my essence is, I am divine inspiration. I'm an inspirational instigator. And my business partner is divine action. So we work very well together. And once somebody realizes this is who they are, and it doesn't have to be something huge, some big life-shattering, get on the stage in front of 3,000 people. I talked with someone, I used her as an example because she was so charming in a group that I did a little while back. And she was very shy, and we were talking about your life purpose, right? And she said, I don't know what mine is. And Adironnda came in and said that she was an activator. And she says, I don't activate anybody. And you could tell that she was really, really shy. She was almost in tears. And she said, well, how can I possibly be an activator? I don't do anything. I go to work, I come home, I pet my dog, I go to the park, and I'm really shy. And Adoronda said, well, what do you love more than anything else in the world? And she smiled. And when she smiled, everything about her changed. She just lit up her space. And she told us that she really loved planting things. And so, so plant things. And Adoronda asked what she did for a living. And she was embarrassed to say. And she almost cried because she said she was a Walmart greeter. And she loved it. And of course, here she is, this brilliant light when she smiles, and she activates every single person that comes in the store. And so she was living her purpose, and she didn't really have to do anything differently. Just had to acknowledge that that's who she was. And that's how people are, is once you acknowledge who you really are, everything else sort of begins to fall into place. And that's kind of what we help with.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. That's amazing. And again, all these are available on your website as well. There's a number of services on the website. Could you just give us the website as well?
Absolutely. It's Adironnda.com. That's A-D, as in dog, I-R-O-N, as in Nancy, N, as in Nancy, D-A.com, Adironnda.com.
Okay, well, we're putting it's been on the screen before, but we're just putting back on screen now as well. I'm surprised you've not written a book.
Yeah, I'm doing too much. I can't take the time to write a book. I actually have 3 books in the works right now. We're writing a book on the double digits, on numerology, because numerology is really ancient, and it's going to be available. Keep your fingers crossed on the 4-4 for next month. It's going to be a downloadable book on 4-4, and then it'll be a real book, a hardcore book. And then I'm writing a book that should be ready, if all goes well, by August, about Meet Adoronda, about how this all came about. And we took channelings from Adoronda and transcribed them and then put them together in, basically a perspective from the 17th dimension and how their perspective is. Then I'm working on a series about stepping off the edge, awakening to your own enlightenment. But I have to stop working long enough to write.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely fantastic what you're doing there, and yeah, that feels right as well. Yeah, you've got to do those books, definitely. What would you say then, because we're getting to the end of the interview here right now, because I'm going to try to keep in time with this one. What would you say could be the most important message right now to the audience?
Be the love that you are. Acknowledge who you are. Do not step back from your vision. It is now time to move forward. It is now time to acknowledge your gifts, your uniqueness, your talents, your skills, and step into yourself. And when you breathe into that and feel the unconditional love that exudes from you, everything else takes care of itself.
Well, Marilyn Harper, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I really enjoyed being on your show. I hope I get to be on it again.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.